AARP Arizona Hispanic Connection presents Let's Talk Salud, Dinero y Amor, an interactive conversation on issues relevant to Hispanic Latinos. Do interact with us by sharing your comments. Let's begin. Welcome to Let's Talk Salud, Dinero y Amor. I am your host, David Parra, with another very, very important topic today. The name of the show today is AARP and the 2020 elections. Again, AARP and the 2020 elections. And I have three guests with me today, and I'll be introducing them in just a bit. Before I do, let me just read a couple lines that I typed for this show as a kind of to set the stage, so to speak. We are in a presidential election year. And we continue to address issues related to this important topic. In this show, we will share information about AARP, AARP's voter engagement efforts, key dates, and more. And now, allow me to introduce my guest. And first of all, I would like to start with, Belen Mendoza. Belen Mendoza, I've been after you for some time to try to get you to be on our show. You are with the AARP National Office. What is it that you first of all, thank you, welcome, and what is it that you do at the National Office for AARP?
Thank you so much for having me on the show, and I apologize that it's taking me a minute to get on, but we've been working really, really hard around the 2020 election and making sure that the 50 plus is represented and that the issues are forefront on the conversation. I work in the campaigns unit, and we work on all the issues that affect the 50 plus population.
Thank you, Belen Mendoza from the National Office. We thank you for being, for representing Latinos in such an important organization such as AARP, and being in such a position there. We desperately need more of you. Thank you very much.
Thank you for having me.
And Lupe Solis, I have to say, Lupe, you are, you're almost like my second mother. Sorry to say this, I hope this is a compliment. You were my mentor. You were an ASD for advocacy. We've known each other for such a long time, and we carry on conversations almost on a daily basis via text. I always pick your brain for so many things. Thank you, Lupe, for everything that you do for the community. Welcome to our show, and we're looking forward for this important conversation.
Thank you for inviting me.
Thank you. Brendan Blake, my friend and colleague from the Arizona State Office, again, very much involved in advocacy. When I talk to Brendan all the time, you can tell he has a passion for advocacy. Are you passionate about advocacy? This is not an easy job, Brendan. What is it that you like about advocacy?
I just think it's the only thing for me. It's something that where we get to help people, and that's the simple truth.
It is indeed. Well, we really want to do this show because there are three things that AARP does, and I think three words that characterizes AARP is advocacy. Well, let me go first. Education, advocacy, and discounts. We're not going to talk about discounts today, nor necessarily about education, but even though it's included, but we will focus on advocacy. And let me throw at you the first questions, and you can tackle it in the three of you. And is as follows. Let's focus again on advocacy. It is well known that AARP is a fierce defender, that it has advocacy power. What is advocacy power? How is it measured, and what or who gives AARP the power to advocate? Go at it. Anyone.
I believe it's its members, the strength of its membership. There are associates who pretty much guide the work, the direction of AARP. We are very AARP is very careful to gauge and ascertain where people want to be on a certain issue, and I believe that that the strength of it is the ability to have that large group and the staff that you have. I think staff are very important at the national level and at the local level in helping the members to guide their actions.
Good, good. Anyone else?
And I'll add to that. I mean, here is the very example, right? We have someone from Tennessee, someone from Arizona, and I'm here in DC. We represent all 50 states and territories of the country, right? So we are in every community across the country representing our members. So it's not just a national office in DC, but we're actually entrenched in each of the states working to represent our issues, not just at the national level, but at the state level. And I think that's really the power of AARP, is its membership, but also that we know our members and that we're working with them side by side, state by state.
Brendan, can we equate advocacy power to political power? What is that power to do what? How does it show up?
I think that for AARP, it's advocating on behalf of our members and on behalf of the 50 plus is about working to institute policies that not just help our population, the 50 plus, but also to impact everybody. Everybody will grow old one day and will age. And so it's important that even engaging with the younger voters and our younger members, that we create a world in the future that is livable for everybody.
Good. So when we talk about advocacy power, this is one of those verbs that is kind of weird. It doesn't tell too much. So advocacy is a noun to advocate. So you advocate for somebody, which is the 50 plus community, but with whom? With who do you advocate? Who do you go to do what?
So again, we talk about both at the state legislature, the members at the state level, and then at the national level, the members at the in Congress or the president. For example, in 2020, we're working around the election, making sure that our candidates across the country and at the national level for president are talking about the issues that matter to the 50 plus. Because if we don't do that, we need to make sure that it's at the forefront of the conversation. So one of I feel like our biggest strength is that we amplify the message and the voices of the 50 plus.
Got it. And how it's who recognizes when somebody has power and what does that do? Right? Because I'm sure that in Congress, at the federal level and at the state level, legislators are approached by people and entities. So who do they pay attention? What are those characteristics that could say to a legislator, I better pay attention to this person or to this group?
If you guys don't mind if I jump in, I would say that it's our membership, and the fact that we have a membership that not only is active, but more importantly, they vote. We know that from the extensive amount of polling that we do with our membership, that we know our members vote. And I think that the members in Congress, as well as the members even at the state legislatures across the country, and even city council members know that our members vote. And so what we say about how our members feel about an issue, they listen to.
So let's just go ahead, Lupe.
The other thing is that politics is local. And our memberships are, as Belen said, all over the country. And knowing who your legislators are, being able to have a neighbor who's somebody, having members from all walks of life is extremely important, because those are the people that know what's happening in their communities.
Thank you. Let's go to another question. You know, I have been with AARP for 15 years, and I remember when we were in favor of passage of Medicare Part D legislation. We heard it from the Democrats. And then when we opposed privatization of Social Security, we heard it from the Democrats. And then when we were in favor of the ACA, we heard it from Republicans. So we always seem to be almost like a football, right? We get hit from different sides, or soccer ball, I should say. Is AARP partisan, or how does AARP does it? The advocacy. Are we in favor of one party? Because one of I guess the statements of AARP is that we are non-partisan. How do you explain that? How do you explain that you're non-partisan, but yet sometimes you get hit from different sides of the aisle or spectrum, if you will?
AARP is always about policy, not politics. It's always important to focus on the issues that are at hand, regardless of which party controls what at the federal or state levels. Our policies always are at the forefront of our minds and at the forefront of our members. And I think that being a nonpartisan organization, it gives us credibility, because it doesn't mean that we change with the political winds of the nation. Instead, what we do is we are a bulwark for an incredible amount of policy knowledge and institutional knowledge that we share with our membership, and we share with those who are in power to help them make decisions.
Has anybody, Belen, Lupe, in your endeavors to advocate, been approached by this thing? Oh, hearing that criticism, you are this or you are that.
Yes, of course. Through our years, the many years that I have with AARP, of course you are. Mostly by people who are really not well informed about the work that AARP does. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
but it's always important to remember that certain positions are going to align with one side or another at different times. So, like you said at the beginning, we've been on any side of the fence that is protective of the rights and safeguards for our members. And so, no, we are not partisan at all. And I think we're possibly very representative of the overall population in terms of who's Republican, who's Democrat, who's independent. That really doesn't matter. Another thing that often gets confused with AARP is that we sell insurance. And I, for one, was always proud in my years of working with AARP to be able to say, you may say that because you say the AARP endorsement, but I can honestly say, I don't know what they sell. I don't want to know, and they don't want me to do. So
Right.
that, I think, is a very, very powerful argument for people to understand that we are not here to sell or buy anything. We are not here to be to one side or the other. We are here to look out for our membership.
Belen, how does AARP pick what issues to engage in? I assume, because that's where, like Lupe said, you pick an issue that lines up with the party. Then you pick another issue that may line up with the other party. So you're always walking this fine line. So how does AARP pick what issues to address?
So that's exactly the answer right there, right? We don't pick issues based on the parties. So, we might align with one or might align with another one, but we pick up the issues that really matter to the 50 plus, right? So if we are talking about prescription drugs, we're thinking of the entire population and how that affects them, right? We want to make sure that there's the Social Security, people that live in fixed incomes. It's not like only Democrats live on fixed income or Republicans or independents, everyone does. So our issues are the issues that really impact the 50 plus. So for us, it's not about what party can help us or what, side could, align with us, but it's what is the issue that really matters to our members, the folks that we represent, but and not, what party will get us what we need. And so to me, that's very important. And one of the reasons why I came to AARP, because I knew that we were thinking about the members and the issues that matter to the 50 plus and not necessarily who was in power and what they can do for us.
Got it. Another item that I believe people may think is that AARP supports parties or gives money to PACs. First of all, Brandon, can you explain what's a PAC? And then does AARP endorse candidates, gives money?
Sure. PAC is a political action committee. Essentially, what they are is they're fundraising tools for parties and candidates in order for them to run their wildly expensive campaigns. AARP does not have nor donates to any PAC. It's one of the ways that we try to remain neutral and continue our stance of nonpartisanship. Because if we were to get involved in that, it would throw our reputation. It would throw our reputation away.
Got it. You know, one of the
hard to
Go ahead.
piggyback on that, but I think it's important to highlight something that Brendan just talked about, which goes to your first initial question about our power, and it is the fact that we don't have to donate to a PAC, we don't have to donate to a candidate, but our members are so strong and show up so much that we have the power that someone will have if they were to donate to a party or a candidate. And that should, be always highlighted, that our members have such a power because they vote in such a big number. They make their voice heard, whether it's at the ballot box, whether it's at a members of Congress office, whether it is at the state level. And so we have that strength that a lot of people don't have. So they need to be able to contribute to a candidate or a PAC.
My next question has to do with the art of advocating. I have to say, advocacy is not my strength. I prefer the educational piece because you have to deal with, difficult situations sometimes. But I have to say that if you talk about the art of advocacy, we recently had an engagement at the state level that I would like to ask Brendan to describe. I believe, Brendan, this is exactly what I would call the art of advocating. And this has to do with the engagement of AARP Arizona with our governor, and sometimes approving some things that he and his administration did, sometimes coming across as says, no, here's another item. And then something that AARP proposed and fought for, especially through our fearless state director, Dana Kennedy. Please relate to us in brief what that art, what that endeavor was, and the win that we could probably attribute to the work that AARP Arizona did in this matter with the COVID, in the context of COVID. Go ahead.
Sure. I'll just say that after I speak, I'd love to hear Lupe talk about this. She does a wonderful presentation about advocacy. And so I'll just say a few things. We have certainly utilized a lot of tools in our toolkit regarding COVID and the protection, particularly the protection of people in long-term care facilities. And as you've mentioned, Dana has written, along with the rest of our staff, a series of letters to our governor to try to point him in the right direction and get the help and the care that is needed for the people in long-term care facilities, not just the people who are living there, but the workers as well. And so we have certainly gone deep into our toolkit in order to make this happen. And it's taken relationships that we've built over time in order to do so.
So what exactly would you say that AARP gain or won in this? It has to do with the nursing homes visitations, because I'm telling you, in our meetings, I have been so deeply impressed that even I have seen my state director, Dana Kennedy, shed tears over this issue. It is so dear to her heart, and it's unbelievable, impressive to see her fighting like heck, for the rights and the family members of people who have loved ones in nursing homes, until there was a task force. What is that task force, Brendan, and what was it for?
So the task force was built around long-term care facilities, and in part as a result of some of our advocacy. And essentially, it's to get together stakeholders in order to figure out one of the primary things is to figure out how we can get families back into the nursing homes and long-term care facilities safely, so that way they can see their loved ones. As Dana will point out readily, it has been roughly 5 to 6 months that people have not been able to see their loved ones. So it's important for us to allow them to see it safely, and not to mention continue to protect the workers, the families, and the residents who are certainly vulnerable in their facilities.
And Lupe, I'm sure you are familiar with this work that AARP at the state level did. Any impressions about this particular matter of how AARP Arizona engaged in this matter of COVID and the nursing homes, which, by the way, were very much hit by COVID-19?
Well, of course, David, you have to remember that at the beginning of the crisis, we were seeing great numbers. I think up to 60% of the deaths were people in long-term care facilities. And that is what moved ARP to action. Not only that, but the fact that families were not able to see because, of course, they had to quarantine everybody, and the facilities were not equipped. They did not have the PPEs, the protective equipment to protect either their workers or the people or the visitors. Therefore, there was some inability to find out what was happening with your loved one in that facility. And Dana, as you said, really went to bat on that. But you have to remember that this wasn't the first time. And it is not, ARP has a history of working to protect. We did that before, also with the Hacienda case, very effectively, I think,
Right.
in demanding that because people are in institutional settings doesn't mean that they don't deserve the protections that everybody else has. So while I'm thinking that that it was that there were some wins there and very effective strategies that were carried out by ARP. Mainly, I would say the staff in this instance, because you have to remember that for 4 months now, we haven't, the advocates haven't really been able to meet except by Zoom. But there's something I always think about when we do advocacy. Advocacy, as anything else, is the art of the possible. I also said it's also very local. So being able to engage with someone that you created a relationship with, that trusts you, that knows you're not going to lie to them, that you are a respected source of information is extremely important. And I think ARP in Arizona has attained that through the work of both the staff and the members of the advocacy network. The other thing is that in advocacy, you really never burn bridges, because if you do, the next time you need someone, they're going to be right against you, no matter whether they believe in what you're fighting for or not. So it's extremely important to have a strategy developed before you start on any issue. And I think that's something that at ARP we do very well. We plan what the movement's going to be. We know, not all the time, but most of the time, we already know what's going to be possible. And you have to be ready to give, and take.
Got it.
Do you say, okay, I can accept if you will do that? And I think that's some of the issues that came up during this COVID were extremely important to the membership, because ARP demonstrated its clout in being able to say to the governor, do not forsake the long-term care institutions at all levels. And you can be very proud of that work.
I'm telling you, to me, this was a very good example of the art of advocating. I mean, Dana was tweeting that she was sending letters, of course, the office, but she was leading the team. It was an example to me of the art of advocating. And I mean, the governor and many more people really knew who Dana was and who the AARP office in Arizona was. It was very, very impressive. Let's move on, Belen, if you don't mind helping us. This is the 2020 elections. And what is it that AARP, what issues has AARP picked to advocate for in the 2020 elections? What are those important issues that we heard from our members that we needed to advocate for?
So the issues that we're focusing on is Social Security. You know, as we all know, solvency is important. Again, going back to the conversation of people living in a fixed income and not being able to afford, you know, having to make a choice between food or medications and so forth, right? So that's a very important issue for us that we want to make sure the candidates are talking about, and it is part of the forefront. Also, one of the things that we're really focused on this year is making sure that people know exactly what they need to be able to vote safely, whether they want to do it in person or they want to do it from home, right? There's a lot of information going around. So we are really putting out there the information that people will need in order to be able to make a decision on how they want to vote during this election. Also, we've been talking about Medicare and prescription drugs. The prescription drug issue is one that is it could impact people's life and not being able to afford their medication, right? Again, it's about life and death a lot of times. So for us, it's making sure that the candidates know where our members stand in these issues. And also for us, what's very important this year is that members, AARP members, know how to make their voice heard, so people know that they are really paying attention and watching.
So, Brendan, what is going on with these three important topics? I mean, these are huge issues. Honestly, I mean, I don't have to convince you, but Social Security, if I'm not mistaken, 90% of the benefit recipients, no, not 90%, but I think it's 50% depend. Sorry, 25% depend on 90% solely on Social Security. Think about that. 1/4 of the Social Security population, for 1/4 of them, Social Security represents 90% of their income. That's a lot. And then obviously you have other groups that depend on Social Security at a lesser level, but still it is an important program. So why, I mean, I have been with AARP, by the way, I say it again, 15 years, and there hasn't been, I think, one day that I haven't heard these three issues, and they seem to not go away. Brendan, anything that you want to say about why are these so critical and why they always keep coming back, basically in every election?
Sure thing. And, you know, and as you've mentioned, we always talk about these issues, particularly Social Security and Medicare have always been staple issues for AARP. And as you sort of alluded to, that there's a large segment of our population that relies nearly solely on Social Security for their well-being. I think it was a couple of years ago, the average Social Security check was around $1,200 a month. And so, you know, when we talk about an issue like, say, utility rates, we work on that here in Arizona, as you know, and you know, a $10 increase to their utility bill a month is a huge difference for somebody who, you know, who's dependent solely on Social Security. And so it's important that we focus on some of these issues that we are the sort of the organization that takes the charge on these issues, because without us being there may be some changes made to the program in Social Security, or we may be able to save Medicare money with, you know, allowing them to negotiate drug prices and things like that would be beneficial for our membership to help them financially and with their health. And it's important for us to always advocate for those issues.
And Lupe, let me come back to you. In Arizona, at least it is my impression that at the current time, people are very much aware of health because of COVID-19, jobs, the economy, education. These are like very pressing, important topics, issues. And it's possible that Medicare and Social Security and even prescription drug may be kind of pushed to like the back burner. How much do you think is the community aware of that these programs, there's a lot going on with these programs at the congressional level? Do you think people are aware that a lot is going on right now with these three programs, or three benefits?
Well, David, if they are not, they should be. And I'll say this: Social Security is a program that impacts not only seniors, but also families of workers who have passed. It impacts the disability community extremely. And right now, for example, there's a proposal being talked about to forego payroll taxes. If you do that, you're not only going to impact the future of the program, you're going to impact populations that depend solely on that support network. As you said before, and I think Brendan reiterated, uh, a check of $1,200 a month is not much for anyone. But when you stop, and that's about the average, that's not what people in very low income, in very low paid positions, and many of them people of color, that work in hard jobs that are going to need health care sooner sometimes than the majority of the population. No, that's very little income. And if 25% of the overall program, of that 25%, 90% of them depend solely on Social Security for assistance, we're in trouble. If those payroll taxes go away, not only will the current members, the current beneficiaries will be impacted, so will others, the future ones. And so it's extremely important that people understand what funds the program. It is your taxes as well as the government taxes, and who benefits from it. And in reality, I would say that everyone benefits. Okay,
Right.
because that income is also put into the economy of the communities. That's the money that goes to pay for groceries, for utilities, for rent, for whatever. And so it's very important that people stay informed. And one of the ways that they can do that is through AARP. And I would suggest that it's a very timely, because you always have the latest thing that's happening on all of those issues, including Medicare.
Right.
Medicare, not only to our community, but the disability community is extremely important. It's what keeps your costs affordable. The cost of prescriptions, yes, there's still been some work in that area, but I believe not enough.
Belen, how is AARP going to use these three big issues to engage both the legislators, or not the legislators, right now, the candidates, right? And then the people, because you need to reach out to both so that we engage in this, if you will, conversation, to say it softly, and debate, if you want to do it a little bit more harshly. But what is AARP going to do to get the membership and the 50 plus community engaged in these issues, and then also make sure that the candidates engage in these issues?
So you talk about advocacy and the passion, and I think that when you mention to folks that in the next 15 years they will get probably reduced if nothing is done with Social Security and their benefits, people perk up and they pay attention, and they start to really get involved. But one of the benefits of working at AARP is that our members are very much educated and very informed, right? So they're always ready to go in and have those conversations with their local elected officials, with their state legislation, and the national, and with the members of Congress. So this year, what we're doing is we want to make sure that members are educated on the issues and what is coming up, what is at risk, right? I think that is the key for us. And I think, Lupe, you mentioned this, right? Our communities are the ones who are the most impacted, the most at risk when it comes to this kind of the issues, whether it's Medicare, Medicaid, whether it's Social Security or prescription drugs. A lot of folks, and I think Brendan, you mentioned this, right? We live in a household with young kids and then aging parents, right? So on top of that, it has an impact, as we talked about, as a family as a whole, not just the person who is receiving the benefits. So we have our campaign for 2020, Protect Order 50 Plus, and I don't know if you're going to share the website or you want me to share the website.
Is this it right here?
Yes. Yes.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Where people can go in and find information. Also, one of the things we're doing this year is we are sharing information on how folks can vote safely at the state level. So we are not just saying these are the things that you need to do, but we're making it a lot more targeted to the states, so folks know how things will roll out, will happen in their state, which is really important. So we want to make sure people are educated and that they know the issues and the impact that it will have with them. But we also want them to know that there's options for them to vote and that they have ways to make sure that their voice is heard in November. That is, to me, very key this year, right? With the pandemic, in particular with our families being affected, on top of that, a lot of our families are frontline workers. So they're the ones who have to be, out there doing the jobs in the middle of the pandemic. On top of that, you have, an election. So we want to make sure that people are very much familiar with how they could vote safely, whether it is from home or in person, to be able to fit their need and deal with this whole pandemic we're all facing right now.
Yeah, and obviously AARP has many channels of communication to reach out to members. I believe the number that if my recollection doesn't fail me, we have a magazine that reaches, I believe, 35 million people. So that is a very powerful tool that we use to communicate with our members. The website at aarp.org, we just showed the, if you go to aarp.org /election 2020 /elecciones 2020 for Spanish, you will find a lot of information, and obviously we're going to update this and continue to add. Let me ask you, Belen, do you recall or can you confirm that the Facebook page, actually let me post it. I don't mind if this is wrong, we'll correct it. I hope I saved it. I didn't. But anyway, actually, I'm going to do it. So for English on Facebook, we have AARP. Is it Advocate?
That is correct. AARP Advocates.
With an S or without the S?
With the S. Advocates.
Perfect. That would be for English. And then for Spanish, it would be, is it Unidos Adelante?
Aliados. Aliados Adelante.
Aliados.
We could be Unidos too.
Right, that would be for Spanish. And let me see, I'm just, as we speak, I'm creating the banner, so I'm going to add it, and let me see. Okay, here it is. Please verify it for me. AARP Advocates, that's what we said, correct? Yeah. And Aliados Adelante. So if anybody wants to follow our work in with what AARP is doing in this election and beyond, because we have been posting before and we will continue afterwards, you can follow AARP Advocates on Facebook in English and Aliados Adelante in Spanish. So we, in kind of closing, I think we are getting close to the end. So three issues again that AARP will be addressing heavily with this with these members and the candidates. Social Security, primarily solvency, correct? We are very much interested that the program remains solvent for the 70 years that, according to law, it's supposed to be solvent for. Then we have Medicare, who faces very concrete issues, I think, financially. I believe the 48% of the cost of Medicare is still funded by the general fund of the government. So that is a high percentage that, and so these programs need to, I'm not sure if it's tweaking or an overhaul or whatever, but it needs a lot of work so that they are protected. And of course, the cost of prescription drugs, it is super high and it keeps increasing. So, and in addition, we want to make sure that folks have information on how they can vote, where they can vote, and that it is safe to vote. Is this pretty accurate?
It's the best summary I have heard all day.
Oh wow! Thank you so much. Let me continue to show some of the statements so that folks have a chance to at least read. At least I show some of these. This represents our framework, if you will, what we're going to be doing to. Like on this one, to win, candidates must talk about the issues that matter to 50-plus voters, like voting safely from home or in person, preventing cuts to Social Security and Medicare, and lowering prescription drugs. Then we have another one. AARP is demanding action from politicians to ensure that 50-plus Americans, from working parents to family caregivers to seniors in nursing homes, can vote safely. I believe we've covered pretty much a good amount of information, and this should give those that join our show an understanding of how AARP is nonpartisan, how AARP is involved, what issues, and why sometimes we are confused with this party or that party. We are nonpartisan. We don't give money. We don't give donations to anything. Let me ask if you can just do a final comments. Whatever's in your mind for closing, what would be your final thoughts, each one of you, to close the show?
Let's start.
Go. Yeah, go ahead, Lupe.
I think it's important for people to remember that while others can advocate, you need to be your own voice. And to do that, you must maintain informed. You must join organizations that help you. AARP will do that. And don't wait. Don't wait for somebody else to protect your rights. Join in. It's important. Advocacy should be part of everybody's life.
Thank you. Belen, your final thoughts.
Well, it's kind of hard to follow Lupe with her message because it was right on point. And I think that if I could kind of highlight more what she said, I think it's very important to educate and familiarize yourself with the issues and how they impact you, how they impact your family. Like Lupe said, no one can be a better advocate than you can be for yourself, but also you're being an advocate, not just for yourself, but your family members, your friends, and your coworkers. And last, we are in the middle of a pandemic. I think people have a lot going on. There's a lot to worry about. There's a lot that we have to deal with, but it is very important that that we vote and that we do it the best way that fits, our schedule, our lifestyle, our needs. And so I urge everyone to take the time to figure out how they're going to make a plan to make sure that they vote, whether it's early, whether it's an election day. But it's very important to have a plan and to make sure that we vote. It's the only way that your voice will really, really be heard is by you exercising your right to vote.
Perfect. Brendan?
Well, I think that Belen took what I was going to say. So I'll piggyback off of her and just say that there are resources to find out how to vote safely. And for I assume the majority of your viewers are living in Arizona. So I'll just say that there are resources for you to vote from home as well. And you can still register to vote from home. And as Arizona is very fortunate that we are a state that you do not need any particular reason to use a mail-in ballot. So you can still apply to get called the permanent early voting list, or you can apply for a one-time ballot at the Secretary of State's website. And I would just encourage people that if you want to have your voice heard and do it safely, voting from home is still an option for you.
Before I close the show, I have some key dates on the screen. I'm not going to review each one of them. I would suggest that you stop the video and just kind of look at them, maybe take a picture of them and carry them in your phone so that you can, that can serve as a reminder, whatever it takes. But let's make sure that we vote, and let's make sure that we are aware of this date. We truly and strongly encourage people to vote by mail. So those are the dates, and you can, again, stop the video, take a picture of those dates. And there's if you go to arizona.vote, you can also find lots of information. So I want to thank my guest, Brendan Blake, Lupe Solis, Belen Mendoza, for joining our show today. It's been great having you, and we really hope that we can do more of this show. Thank you once again to each one of you.
Thank you.
And thank you for joining, and we really hope that this was helpful to you. This concludes our show. We will see you on our next show. Take good care of yourselves. Bye-bye.
Arizona Hispanic Connection.